Mr. President, I think it is good that we are standing here on the Senate floor and acknowledging that with the news that the President has just announced that the government will reopen as early as today, that those good, dedicated, hardworking federal employees that have either been furloughed or who have been working without pay for now 35 days will be able to get back to work, will be able to receive that just compensation for their work. This is important news. This is good news. This is long-awaited news. In fairness, Mr. President, this never should have happened. I am one. I concur with my colleague from Maine that there's never a good reason to have a government shutdown in the first place. So we've demonstrated that we can do it, but it sure isn't something that should be done, and I think the men and women who have been so directly and immediately impacted are not only relieved this afternoon, but they're saying, for heaven's sakes, Congress, make sure that you don't put us through this again. And count me in that camp of working to make sure that we don't put these men and women and their families through this again. I've been holding Skype sessions with the spouses of our active Coast Guard in Alaska. And last evening, I had an opportunity to connect with the spouses from Sitka. And it is absolutely gut-wrenching to hear a young wife who has an 18-month-old, she's got a baby who's now less than a year old. Her husband has been out at sea for 5 months. He's just come home, and she relays the conversation of the two of them crying in bed as they're discussing whether or not she should leave Sitka to go back and live with either his parents or her parents with their baby because they cannot afford to stay in the Coast Guard community that they are in. I'm scheduled to have yet another Skype session with the spouses of our Coast Guard men and women from Cordova and Petersburg in just 40 minutes from now. I think it's going to be a much better conversation with them than with the spouses from Sitka yesterday, because we'll be able to share the good news. But it was interesting, as I have visited with them, heard their very direct stories. They're pretty selfless. They're pretty selfless in saying, as hard as this is on us, and as much as we want to be paid, we want to make sure that others who serve as public servants are federal employees, whether they are air traffic controllers, whether they are FAA, whether they are TSA, whether they are NOAA, whether they are NIMS, that they too will get paid, because they too are our friends and our neighbors, and they too are hurting. And so, again, making sure that we are doing right by all those who serve our country, who serve all of us through the good work that they do through the agencies. This has been a harsh and a difficult time. And it has been particularly painful for me, coming from a state where we are feeling the direct impacts of this partial shutdown, perhaps more so than any other state out there. I'm told that per capita, there are more federal employees in Alaska who are directly impacted by this partial shutdown than any other state. So I hear the urgency. And it's not just from our Coast Guard men and women. Again, it's so many agencies who have a presence. I got a readout just yesterday from those in the fishing industry who are concerned that because permits can't get issued, because comments can't be published in the Federal Register, that the impact to their fisheries and being able to move forward with the black cod fishery or to move forward with the pot cod, they're not going to be able to do it. So today's news allows for everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. But I don't want them, whether they're a fisherman or whether they're that Coast Guard wife, I don't want them thinking, am I only going to be able to breathe now for 3 weeks? What happens after that? We owe it to not only our federal workers, but we owe it to all America to take the anxiety out of this process. I have supported my colleague, the senator from Ohio, with his legislation that would permanently end government shutdowns. I'm not convinced that the way it's drafted, it's something as an appropriator that I'm entirely good with, but I want us to take this off the table. In fact, I believe it's the presiding officer that used the terminology that a shutdown is like the chemical warfare agent when it comes to political weapons. At the end of the day, Mr. President, these are people's lives that we're dealing with. These are people's lives that we are messing with when we say we're going to shut the government down for this period of time while we try to advance priorities. We cannot mess with people's lives this way. So we've got our work set out for us, and I believe that we will rise to this occasion. We must rise to this occasion. I look forward to doing that. I thank the President for his announcement today. I thank him for giving us this 3 weeks that we requested. I thank the Majority Leader and the Minority Leader for coming together to help advance this. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take the President. It's going to take our leadership. It's going to take all of us working together. And as a member of the Appropriations Committee, I look forward to my continuing role in this, but know that we owe it to the country. We owe it to the country to get this right and get it right quickly. This is a good start today, and I look forward to working with colleagues, and I yield the floor.